You hear me, Gary? I don't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, Gary. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on. That's strange. So anyhow, no, it's great to have you here today. We'll edit the first part of this out. So let me just go down through the beginning.
Sure.
So great to be here, everybody. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO, president, founder of GSD Get You Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with 2 unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for 1.35 billion, and also even.ai. I have 29 years worth of experience in AI and 40 years worth of experience building companies in Silicon Valley. And with that, at GSD, we are in 73 countries around the world. I have 180 in our portfolio today in our family office. And we believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread, but opportunities are not. With that, I'd like to introduce Dave Matalon. We're going to dive into his company, Ben, and how he's changing the world with his blue border technology and redefining BYOD security. So, with that, David, so tell us a little bit about it. What problem did you see in the early 2000s with Office and later with OS 33? And how did that influence you today?
Sure. Well, Gary, thank you for having me. Nice to be here with you. Um, we have been, or I have been, leading companies focused on employees that are distributed workforces, and that's been happening for the last 20 years. So COVID, really kind of accelerated things. But we had been working with companies that had people all over the country, all over the world. Our customers have had highly sensitive data to protect,
Mm-hmm.
regulatory compliance requirements to deal with. So, how do you manage a employee workforce that's spread out and keep company data secure and maintain compliance with regulations? And that's been the focus of my career. And yeah, so that's those are my roots.
So, how did those lessons you learned from help you in founding Venn in 2019?
So the way we did it was different then, and we essentially, innovated and created an entirely new way to solve the problem that we have been solving for over a decade prior. Um, the way we protected data back, 2018, 2019, 2020 was typically virtual desktop. We kept all the data in the data centers. We protected it all on servers, and we essentially made the end user use almost like a thin client, right? Or they turned their Mac, they turned their PC into a dumb terminal, if you will. Nothing was on the machine. Run a hosted session, run your applications in the cloud somewhere, and that's how we kept data safe. That's how we protected companies and kept them compliant. The problem is that users hated it, and if you're working that way, it's not ideal. There's latency, there's disconnects. When COVID hit, it put everyone in remote offices and everyone on Zoom, and video calls just totally broke that model big time.
Mm-hmm. I
So
remember it was crazy, And in fact, I remember meeting the founder of Zoom at a party, a rooftop party out there. One of his investors had introduced me to him. I was one of the early users of Zoom, and I remember trying. I said, "Boy, this is really cool stuff. This is way better. The
yeah,
quality of the pictures way better, et cetera." And look at what happened in a couple of years, right? It's unbelievable. But
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you built this blue border technology, and it feels like a breakthrough. So when did you have that aha moment that you nailed it?
So it was during COVID. It was 2020, the summer of 2020. It was we had sent everyone home in March. I remember writing the letter to my folks, my people at the office, saying, "Hey, we'll see you in a few weeks. We're going to kind of work from home for a little while and be back soon." And obviously that extended for years in reality, but it really it kind of forever impacted our customers, our company. It's never changed. I mean, if you look at remote work statistics, they're up significantly from pre-COVID, but they've leveled out. But people have to focus on the percentage of the workforce that's even viable remote. And if you look at knowledge workers, it's so high. It's so high today. So we're sitting operating remotely, and we know that the future is going to be one where people are going to be in their homes. They're going to be, hybrid. They're going to be maybe a couple days in the office, some days home.
And how do you do it now, David? Do you have people in the office, or do you have them at home, or what do you do? What's the mix?
Our organization is remote first. We're based in New York City. Our headquarters are 22nd and Fifth Avenue. I'm there 3 days a week. I'm home probably 2 days a week. This is my home office where I'm sitting on a
Where do
Friday.
you get more work done, at your house or in the office?
Personally, home, because I can focus. It's quieter. I can kind of divide up my week and kind of do the quieter, more thoughtful stuff here, and I do most of my meetings and the interactive stuff usually in the office. But yeah, and I think what we saw then, which turns out to be right, was that the companies are not going to be able to control all the endpoints. The companies are not going to be able to own and control all the laptops, all the desktops that people are working from. And I think it was just that simple recognition that remote work.
I don't think that people want them to control them. Do you? I mean, it's like people like, you get in there, you got your own device. People want you to bring your own device, but then they want to control your device. That's not good either. It's crazy.
No, that's not a good model. There's a huge privacy concerns. It's not fair to the employee. No, so it's very tough to convince remote employees and contractors to bring their own laptop, but then you're going to load up your own software that's really potentially invading their privacy, and it's just inappropriate. You also have the opposite. You also have the typical kind of company owned. Here's your work laptop. It's got the software, etc. But we all know that people are doing personal stuff on that machine as well. IT looks the other way. So that model is just eventually going to break too. What's clear is that people don't want to carry two laptops, and companies want to get out of the business if they can. If companies don't have to buy and ship laptops to folks, they don't want to. We're seeing very, very strong adoption of our technology for contractor workforces and organizations that really have a lot of remote employees. And their business model depends on that, right? Think of like a telehealth organization that's growing rapidly today with clinicians working from their homes. You don't want to start buying and shipping laptops for those people, returning them when people leave. You have to have a better solution. It's just, it's almost needed to scale today.
So, can you explain in simple terms what Blue Border is and why the visual separation matters? By the way, my AI is actually listening to our conversation. I have 14 large language models that work as a team, and it analyzes you and the things that you're doing, and it's coming up with these questions. So some of them I know because I've read I've looked at your website and your information, but sometimes it pulls stuff up I've never heard of. I've never seen. So if it pulls something up, it's fascinating. It's kind of like my grandmother. It's got empathy and compassion. It's a very interesting multi-agent, multimodal model that we built. Anyhow, come up with it. So this one is, can you explain in simple terms what Blue Border is and why visual separation matters?
Yeah. So the Blue Border is new technology. You install it on a laptop. Again, the company doesn't have to own this laptop. Very often it's going to be, employer contractor owned. And what happens is that when you open and use work applications, there's literally a blue border around those specific application windows to indicate that you're in that work mode. that you can't just kind of save data wherever you want. You can't copy and paste stuff. And this is what allows companies to control their information. And again, I mentioned like a telehealth organization. Think HIPAA. Think sensitive, confidential patient information that's going to be accessed in the normal course of work. And a remote employer contractor is doing that work, and we need to protect that data. So that's the purpose of the blue border. The visual cue is tremendous because it's telling the user what windows, what work they're doing is kind of controlled by their employer, and the rest of the machine is totally private. They can do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
Company's not there, not monitoring that. There's no control there, and that's fair. That's right. That respects privacy. That's a fair boundary. Very, very important.
And so, how do you make BYOD both secure for IT and enjoyable for employees?
I think exactly that. I mean, you let employees, you let your contractors, you let anyone doing work for the firm work the way they want to work, the way they work best. So, I want to use Chrome, I want to use Outlook, I want to use Slack, I want to use Zoom, I want to use AI, like you mentioned. I want to work the way I want to work, right? I mean, you hire me typically to do a job. So the blue border is nice because it's very flexible. We're not constraining people into some virtual desktop thing where they have to work on weird applications that are in a.
And how do you separate everything, David? How do you separate the personal stuff if they're doing their own device from what you have? Where's the line of demarcation between the two of them, right?
So yeah, so you basically, if you open your PC or Mac and you kind of launch an application, that's personal. That's your own. It's nothing to do with work. If you go into Venn and you log in and then you launch the applications, and there's literally a launcher with your applications that are work related, those applications are going to have the border, and those applications can't see the other applications.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's great. And how many customers do you have? How big is the company right now?
We have over 700 customers, and we're growing quickly today, Gary. The technology is really being received well by those customers that have this problem today.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think everybody has a problem, right? It's like anybody's doing work, they don't want to have the stuff commingled because they don't want their data somehow or the company to have access to their stuff. There's a lot of private stuff on their system, and if I paid $5,800 for a Mac, I don't want people inside of my Mac, right? It's like pretty simple. This is not rocket science, but so why do you believe that virtual desktops are no longer the right solution? When did that change?
It started changing during COVID, with your friend that runs Zoom, right? The whole world, went and started running, video conferences all day long.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty heavy, right, on the connectivity.
Oh,
So,
I mean, it was unbelievable. People were paralyzed. I remember having top executives from Silicon Valley, and they just wanted to talk because everybody was so scared. I was doing 6 podcasts a day, actually.
right, exactly.
It was unbelievable. People just wanted to talk. And for me, it was great because you had these conversations just like this. And so they gave you that human touch. But yeah, so you set up that line of demarcation so there's no spillover between what you have and your own device and what you have for your corporation. And then the virtual desktop things, I mean, that's what I had heard from the old days. What happened? They're no longer the right solution.
Well, they're no longer the right solution because you don't have to do that, right? You don't have to run your desktop in a data center somewhere and then kind of connect to it and then have the pixels sent across the internet and the keystrokes back and forth. And that's really what's going on with that virtual desktop model. But what if you just want to use your browser, on your machine? You just want to open up Outlook that's installed locally. You just want to use Zoom. You don't want to traverse the internet with all of this, craziness. Especially like Mac users, right? You said you buy an expensive Mac, you install it. If you're relying on VDI, you're literally connecting to a Windows desktop to then use on your fancy Mac. I mean, it just makes no sense. So, I mean, you're shifting the work locally, right? From a hosted model to a local model to a native model, using the computer the way the way it was supposed to be used, natively, performantly. It's extremely obvious when you play with it. the difference.
Companies spend millions in hardware for contractors, remote workers. Why is this so outdated in your opinion? My thing is, I mean, why would you spend money? I mean, why wouldn't it be better, even if you gave them some type of allowance, right? Give them some credit to be able to help them, give them $1,000 a year or something to help them.
Yeah.
But it makes no sense, right? They give it out, and I bet there must be quite a interesting amount of those computers that never get back.
100%. Yeah. So you talk to any customer today that's shipping laptops, and they're definitely there's a percentage of them that they're being lost, and there's a loss factor there. That's real. Our company actually, Venn, for new employees offers a stipend. In our company, you get a $500 gift card if you have a computer that you own already that you want to do your work on.
Oh,
If,
that's great. So
yeah,
you
if
do it, you give $500.
we give $500 to kind of incentivize people to help them out. If they don't have a computer and they really do need a new machine, we give them substantially more, but we tell them it's their computer if they stay with the organization. I think it's 18 months or 24 months. I forget what the policy is.
Mhm.
So we kind of front them the money. They buy a laptop, it's theirs. They install Venn. Obviously, all work happens within the blue border. And if you stay with the company, it's your machine.
Oh,
So we're
that's perfect.
yeah, so I think look, I think that's what younger, more forward-thinking companies are. You're going to see, them doing that. If you look at more, kind of entrenched older organizations, they're very much, still have the model of buying, owning, and managing those laptops.
Yeah, they're crazy. It's a crazy waste of money.
It can be a waste of money. Look, I don't think that. I think that in the future, the default, and we're still years away from it, but the kind of the default will be, hey, you can pretty much use any laptop. You install software like Venn, you do your thing, and that's it. Certain roles, highly sensitive, specific job functions, maybe we're going to give you your own laptop because that kind of makes more sense. But I think we're definitely kind of at the beginning of a shift away from that older model.
Gartner's I read an article that said Gartner's flagged BYOD security as critical. How do you feel? How do you see Venn fitting? Where are you on the quadrants for Gartner in terms of fitting in and how do you see? Do we understand enough about it? Do people know enough about these kind of blue border technologies yet, or not? Because I
No,
haven't heard that much about it. I'm
no.
out. I was with Tim Draper last week speaking in Silicon Valley, actually for 2 days, and I didn't hear anything about it. And I know I'm pretty much on top of what's happening, a lot of it, but I
Yeah.
haven't heard of it. This sounds interesting.
No, I think look, we're early days in getting the word out and increasing awareness of what this technology can do. Um, BYOD security is a requirement because it's happening whether organizations like it or not.
Hmm.
And that's what you're seeing in some of these organizations that are very much the own control the laptops, ship them out, telling people they only can use them for work. They're looking the other way when they're used personally. And in corners and pockets here and there, people are using non-company owned computers. It's
Hmm.
happening. It's also happening with contractors. How many organizations don't have some 1099s today? Don't have some offshore
Yeah,
strategy
I mean,
for
you
people.
have to survive.
Yeah. So I think it's in that business reality that BYOD security is not something that can be ignored. You really have to have a strategy. I think this is just the new reality for most IT organizations.
No, I think you're right. And what industries beyond financial services are you most excited about serving? Who's like a ripe?
We've been seeing, well, we do a lot of business in healthcare. We do a lot of business in financial services, a lot of outsourcing type models we work with. I think, interestingly, lawyers. We've been seeing more law firms begin to adopt this type of technology.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Because lawyers really are very much tied to their firm issued owned laptops. And if you think about the typical law firm, there's not a ton of turnover. A lot of our standard customers, they're hiring and they're offboarding, onboarding lots of employees. So they really need the technology that can facilitate that type of agility. When you think of the typical law firm, they're not moving that fast typically. But in some pockets of law, they are. Immigration law, for example, the last 6 months on fire in the U.S.
Mhm.
Driven by the politics, of course. But you see a lot of attorneys being added, and anywhere you're seeing, industries that are growing rapidly, and they're looking for ways to do that faster, more efficiently.
Mhm.
This topic is gonna rise up.
So you've gone down through and my AI just told me you've written somewhere about work life purpose.
Hmm.
Talk about work life purpose. So it's asking me. It said, go down through and ask David, how does that philosophy shape your team and your product?
That's a good question. Well, I need to borrow your AI engine there.
I've been working on this stuff a long time. I actually own a Frontier AI R&D group that I put together. So we're doing. Um, I have 180 companies in my portfolio, right? Some of the top AI companies. And so what I did is I said that there's so many incredible technologies that nobody hears about, Dave. That's a problem, right?
Yeah.
Because we're in the infobesity. If you read the articles that I've written about infobesity, the problem is it's not that solutions like yours don't exist, but their problem is it's like a Ferrari in the garage. Nobody really knows about them. And in order to get out now, it's an entirely different model than I've ever seen in my life. And people have not captured it yet. The companies have not captured how to do it because they're so focused on building their companies in this silo, they can't get out. And they're not out there touching the market every day to see what's going on a global basis. These kind of, just like what you're doing. I mean, this makes a lot of sense because it's a blended hybrid world. And I want to have my own computer. I don't mind spending $5,800 or whatever the heck I paid for my supercharged MacBook. I just like it. I want it to be mine. I don't care if somebody buys me, or I wouldn't care, right? Wouldn't happen to me, but that's the same thing. People want it. And I
Hmm.
think the idea of giving them stipends and things, that's cool because you're using their computer, but they're happy.
Yep. Totally. Totally. I think there's definitely a human dimension to what we're doing. And I think workforces are increasingly have to pay attention to the human dimension.
Mhm.
Younger workers have different expectations than, guys
What
like
do
me
you
that are
think? How
20
has
years.
it changed, David? What do you think? Because see him, and I see like my daughter and my son. What do you see as different between them as workers, the way they are today, and how you work, right? How do you view the work? You talk about work-life balance. You talk about the purpose, but how do they look at it? Do they look differently than you do?
I'm not one of those guys that's all pessimistic on the younger generation and is going to talk about them in any, inferior way. I really feel the opposite. I have kids; they're growing up. I'm super optimistic about them. I work with people a lot younger than me, and I do great with them. Honestly, I think we have to respect people in a work and life context. I talk about my own journey, really believing in success both in work and in life. Trying to not have them compete too much, not to sacrifice my personal life. I want to be a good father. I want to be a good husband. I want to be a good friend. I want to be a good person. And I also want to be a successful professional CEO and grow a great company. And I think you have to figure out how to, kind of blend those two in a unique way and do great in both. And I talked to the folks at Venn about exactly that. That we're going to support you and push you and want to see you succeeding road work. And we're also going to push you to succeed outside of work too, and figure out how to support that, how to blend that. So I love it because
And how do you do that, David? Like, tell me what kind. Give me examples of what kind of things you do to support them outside of work.
well, we give them flexibility. We trust people. We try to hire people and give them goals that are measurable, and give people tough challenges to solve, but not ones that require us to babysit their time every hour of the week or play games about attendance and things like that. you're here to do a job. You're here to drive a business outcome. You're here to be engaged. You're here to be smart. You're here to innovate, etc. It's clear. It's pretty clear month over month who's driving the business forward, who really cares, who's who's doing their job. Who cares if they were there Monday in the office, or they took some time off, or they went away. People benefit from taking a little time off, from going away on vacation, from working remotely, from going skiing in Colorado in February. They come back with more energy a lot of times. You're supporting their success, again, not just in work, but also in their personal realm. But that comes back. It just makes for more ambitious, hungry, excited, and energetic, people.
Does it make them more loyal?
I think so. I think the expectation is high. I think organizations that can relate to people on a human level, that can challenge them and embrace them, not just in the lane of their job, in the lane of attendance and showing up and kind of playing some of these corporate games, but really in a broader sense, I think benefit. We have a great culture at Venn, and I think it stems from this belief. And it also connects to what we do, which is awesome, because we make a product where we get to almost share some of that those principles and that belief with others. So I'm quite proud of what we're able to do internally with our people, and it's wonderful to be able to kind of sell a product that you truly believe in.
So I don't know where it got this. Do you call the people in Venn Venetians?
Yes, we do.
I don't know where it came up with this. It just wrote me and it said, "What type of people thrive as Venetians?"
Great question. I think, like I said, we like interesting people. We like people that are multidimensional. We like people that really want to succeed and push themselves and be ambitious in work. But we're not shy about people that want to succeed and do interesting things outside of work too. So ambitious, smart, honest people want to be part of a community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, Come hang out with us, Gary. You'll see right away.
No, it sounds great. So it's asking me, and it says, "Ask David, what advice do you give to IT leaders struggling with securing distributed workforces?"
I think they should consider our model. I'm not saying that what Venn does is perfect for every organization in every situation, but you should be asking yourself, do I still need to be in this IT business of buying and shipping laptops? Can I be liberated from that? Can I react faster to what the business is asking me to do? IT leaders are in a very tough time today, Gary, right? I mean, you see AI is accelerating all of this change. Business is looking to transform and do lots of things in different ways. Remote.
They're not keeping up, David. I got to tell you, it's like, I'm with some of the brightest people on the planet. I speak at a lot of family office conferences all over the world, right? And it's amazing. Even last week in Silicon Valley, even in the heart of Silicon Valley, they're not there, like seriously not there. And it's disconcerting, because there's going to be two classes of society. The people get these changes and adopt them. People don't. And the amount of money, and you already see it happening, the money divide is growing, because if you master these tools, you get superpowers. It's unbelievable. I've been involved in generative AI pre-transformer models since 2016. I started one of the first companies on the planet 3 years before OpenAI, right?
Wow.
And it was because I had one of my buddies is a very successful serial entrepreneur, and he became my CTO, and a well-known David Yang, and we built a company together, and we did it. We were right in the forefront of this stuff, and I saw it and see it in TechCrunch in 2016. And I just said, this is going to change everything, and it's changing. And most people don't get where it's going to go, because you better be secure. You better be able to work anywhere at any time, right? And feel comfortable wherever that is.
Absolutely. It's not easy. IT's in a tough spot, having to really facilitate all that and allow the business to do what it wants today in a global world, in a remote world. So I think we're playing an important part of that for companies, and I think IT leaders should explore their options and just educate themselves. There's new technology out there, like you said. Not everyone knows about this. Hopefully, in the years ahead, more will, and we're going to do our best. But we can help.
No, that's great. Listen, we're coming to the top of the show. If you want to stay on for a few minutes afterward, we can speak. Closing thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you?
Visit Venn.com, learn about the Blue Border, reach out to me on LinkedIn, and we'd love to help.
That's great. And what's the best way to get a hold of you? LinkedIn, is that it?
LinkedIn's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And thanks to all my audience for joining one more time. I thank you. We're closing on 1,500 podcasts and over 1.6 million views. So I thank you for all of that. And also stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy, and have an incredible weekend. Enjoy yourself, have some fun, and check out Venn. It's a credible company, and David's a good guy. Thank you.
You.